My name is Szabolcs Mónán, and I'm the president of Lean Enterprise Institute Hungary. I'll be the host of this 30 minutes. Before we start, I'd like to ask everyone to use the chat window for comments and the Q&A window for questions, which we will answer at the end. And I'm happy to introduce you Dr. Béla Kelemen, who in the next 30 minutes will walk you through his personal Lean journey, which is a very, very fruitful Lean journey, and a couple of slides about Béla. And Béla, could you please set your...
I am trying. Can you help me? Because now the Zoom menu is covering the sharing the screen or changing the screen.
Yeah, the display settings.
Yeah, display setting is covered by the Zoom menu, and this is not going to be disappeared.
You can get a hold of the Zoom menu and move it to the bottom, maybe.
Okay, now it must work. Is it fine?
Perfect, yes. So a couple of words about you. Started as a chemical engineer and 5 years in research and then 5 years in trading. The most significant era of your career is probably the MOL Group era. You spent 20 years in management. Béla was responsible for 5 oil refineries in 4 different countries at the same time as production vice president. He was also the president of the European Petroleum Refining Association for 4 years. And since 2016, he is the vice president of business excellence, which is Lean at MOL Group. So the stage is yours, Béla. Walk us through your journey.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Szabolcs. I do hope that everybody can hear me. Welcome from Hungary. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all over the world. And as Szabolcs introduced me, you could see that the best thing that ever happened to me was discovering the Lean philosophy. And since then, I've been striving to make the world a better place through it. And in this presentation, you could see some of my experiences. But first of all, after 15 years Lean journey, last year I had a chance to go personally to Japan, thanks to Katie Anderson. She organized the trip, a Japan study trip. And I want to share with you a couple of takeaways from that trip, plus my experiences. So one of the biggest was what I learned: fall down 7 times, get up 8. And if I think about my Lean journey, I was falling down continuously, but every morning I have to get up. But the second thing is, which came to my mind during the whole week as I was preparing my presentation, is the Hansei, which I learned in Japan as well. And from that time, I am really using consciously. This is self-reflection. The whole preparation was actually a Hansei exercise, and also the presentation is some sort of a summary of my Hansei. But I want to talk 3 blocks: the real problem, what initiated the whole journey, then the lessons learned during this whole journey, which is not ended up yet, so not finished, and a couple of thoughts about the future, which is unforeseen. Where I am, the company MOL Group, which I am working for, actually some basic numbers: 25,000 employees, 3 big divisions. One is we call downstream. On the downstream, we have 3 refineries, 2 petrochemical plants, and we are present in downstream activity in Central Eastern Europe, more than 12 countries. There is other big division is the retail, so the gas stations, 2,400 stations in this region, from Poland to Croatia, via Hungary, Slovakia, so quite many countries. And also we are active in upstream. The upstream is actually the natural gas and crude oil exploration and production. and this is also in different countries, not only in Central Eastern Europe, but in Middle East, Pakistan, and many other countries. So I was really a successful leader, happy father, 2 daughters. I had a perfect life. So you could see I was the vice president of production responsible for 5 refineries. The other colleague with Bart is one of the site managers. So the life was very, very happy. And of course, one night I had a dream. A fairy godmother was coming with her stick, and then suddenly, let's start a lean transformation. Of course, the story is not about that. It did not happen on that way. The way how it happened in reality, we had a problem. Of course, everybody know that in 2008, everybody had a problem. That was a big crisis all over the world. But in 2012, we had a problem only in the European refineries or in the European downstream industry had a big problem. We had to start to fight for survival. So the forecast was, I mean, we were not profitable at all. We were suffering with many aspects, and the forecast was 30% of the refineries for closure. And the management, downstream management, I was part of the downstream management as the VP for production, created a fantastic program, the new downstream program, very traditional efficiency improvement program, forecasting or proposing a $500 million efficiency improvement. But thanks God, we had one element of the program was waste elimination, which later came into lean transformation. But how it happened? The story started in 1984. I was playing in a basketball team at the Technical University, and 2 friends, myself, standing, and sitting another friend, András. We met each other in 2012. After many years, András was in the meantime the specialist in the airline industry. He was working as an advisor, and I was as a VP of the production. I had many problems. One of the problems were with the maintenance. Maintenance, we were spending 250, almost $300 million per year, but the mechanical availability of the refineries, 5 refineries we had at that time, were not sufficient. And in each cases, I had to go to the executive board and disputing with the chairman that, okay, we need such a money and we need to change the pumps, 4 pumps, and then we disputed. I did not have any other arguments than, okay, we have 200 pumps in the refinery, and to change 4, that means 50 years running a pump, and every year we have to change 4. I mean, at the end of the day, I got a yes, but that was a ridiculous argumentation, by the way. So anyway, we assumed that in the airline industry, the maintenance should be running much better. And I wanted to see the airline industry. András convinced us to go to Lufthansa Technik. We went to the Lufthansa Technik. At that time, I did not know that we will participating on a gamba during the night in Frankfurt airport. What happens? Lufthansa Technik is a maintenance company. And what I saw there, they were in the middle of a lean transformation. What I saw there, that was really, really shocking. That was an forever aha feeling. So many tiny ideas which made their activity much more effective, much more productive. And additionally, the frontline leader who was guiding us on the shop floor was so enthusiastic that I was really surprised what could have happened and what happened actually in Lufthansa Technik that they moved into such a direction. So that was a very convincing that we need to do that what the Lufthansa Technik did. And of course, I had to convince the downstream management, let's start something. And I took classes. This is my lean glasses, very heavily sharpening that I want to see the value-added activity and the waste. But that's a nice, funny story when I am presenting in this class, but I had to give some concrete, tangible arguments. And I call the mathematics that if we have a process steps, if you have a process consisting of 6 steps, then if in a step 90% value added and 10% not value added, that at the end of the process, 6 times 0.9, we could reach a 53% value added activities, or you could consider as a quality, 90% right quality in a process steps, etc. I did not know, I did not guess at that time that 90% value added work in a process that is almost mission impossible. Even the best could not reach that level. But later on, I realized that we have 10% or even less than 10% value added activity within a process. But if you could see, if you could eliminate 10% of the waste, you can double the effectiveness of the process. And as we started the lean transformation, the first or the other aha feeling in our house when I started to follow or shadowing 2 blue collars, 3 hours walk, and that was getting a nightmare, a real nightmare, because at that time I was facing first time the brutal reality. Being a successful leader, but of course not visiting the Gemba at all, I lived completely differently. But then 3 hours, originally it was too valuable for me. I mean, a well-paid manager spending 3 hours walking in the refinery. I mean, it's we were not used to it. But what I learned, what I saw, it was incredible. 3 hours walk. The guys were walking and riding the bike between the units, and they made only 15 minutes. Actually, they inspected the drive belt or the V belt of 8 air coolers, which took 15 minutes. It was not a very highly professional job, but 8% value added activity, we can call it value added. So that was a shocking experience. And then after, I was doing regularly the Gemba. So the first wave or big wave or a big transformation reached the peak in 2016. So after 4 years, you could see the top management of MOL Group with a nice T-shirt showing and standing a message that my passion is to eliminate waste. And the numbers behind them representing one of the very simple idea, one of the unit which was producing a pure propylene, I mean the high purity propylene, which was 99.85% purity. But the next unit, the polymerization unit, required only 99.6. So even 0.2% quality improvement, which made the unit operators very proud, caused more than 270,000 euro loss. Actually, we were burning this money through the chimney per year, and this was a tiny idea. So that was the peak of this first period. And what I learned, the biggest lessons learned, that the reports paint the sky always blue, and I had the chance to write the foreword for such a nice book. This is a Michael Bally Lead with Respect book, and I put it into the foreword that as I was getting leader, high-level leader, C-level leader, I was really getting further and further from the reality. What does that mean, further from the reality? I felt myself that on the left picture you could see reading reports, using the database, computers, phone, and all of the managerial tools. But I felt myself like a coach who is reading the newspaper and talking to the fans and the audience. And then after he makes the decision what to do with the players. So the game happens on the field, not in the reports. And that was my initiative to do the Gemba. And from that time, I am continuously doing the Gemba. But what is the lean transformation about? What afterwards, what we learned, or I learned actually? The transformation is very simple. We have to get from somewhere to somewhere. And normally we don't know where we want to get. We can't get there, or we can get somewhere, but that's definitely not the target where we want to get. But also very important, we have to know where we are starting from. We don't know the starting point, then we can circulating ourselves, we cannot reach the target, we don't know what to do and how to go. And if we see the lean transformation, historical point of view, the first real lean transformation happened to Toyota. As last year, Jim Womack, he presented that slide, and he presented that the first lean transformation happened to Toyota because Toyota was in a big trouble, almost in bankruptcy in 1950, and then during 20 years, he managed the first real big transformation. But we wanted to, another thing which I took with me from Japan, it was the lessons from Katsuhiko Eguchi, the former high-level manager of Panasonic and also general manager of Panasonic Toyota GV, that American seeds in Japan soil will create a weak plant. I translate it into Hungarian. Japanese seeds or Toyota seed in Hungarian soil will create a weak plant. So let's see what was the soil actually where we should have done the lean transformation. One thing is the industry. The industrial, I have to call these elements a myth of the industry. And the oil and gas industry is really heavily infected by such a myth like economy of scale that is critical being competitive. So without economy of scale, we cannot be competitive. Capacity utilization is the key being more efficient, or high efficiency can be reached by full utilization. Or the technology development cannot be imagined other way than invest, than spend the capex. Or security of supply, that is equal like having higher inventory level, then you can supply the customers in a secure way. Or even the customer supply quality is depending on whether you have an extended logistics system or not. So this is the industry myth. But what about the company? What about the culture of the company where we are? Again, last year, Art Byrne, very simple terminology of the culture, the way we do the things here. Okay, let's see how we did the things here. As I mentioned, we have three big divisions: upstream, downstream, retail. And if we see where we are, we can see where we want to get. Culturally, the story in our system, we are delivering only the good news. However, bad news first. That is very important in a lean philosophy. The other thing, the Hungarian spirit. Hungarians are like to be heroes. The small problem is not a problem. If the fire and the same smooth results. That is the feature of the lean. Process matters, the result comes. Or we are very famous discussing, pre-discussing, and then agreement, then rediscussing, and then re-agree. So lots of discussion, less action. But if we need to do something, we immediately familiar why not to do. We immediately reacting how not to do. In contrary, in a lean operation, the PDCA is the key driver. And the first intention is how to do the things. No change, no failure, or no failure, no change. A key element of our survival in the history. In contrary, failure is for learning, open to change. This is the Kaizen. So you could see the big gap, very big gap, which we should have overbridged, or we should have climbed up to the top of the hill. So that is a really very difficult and bumpy road to get there. The third element is the management. The management style is actually nothing else than a hierarchical autark management, where you have to satisfy your boss, not your customer. So it should have been turned up. So the management or the managers from the front line to the should support and have to support the operators to come over the problems, and the value creating process should function right. So these are the gaps which we should have overlapped during the transformation. So these are the from to exercise. And in the meantime, the situation changed. As I mentioned, that we are very heavily financial driven. By the way, the whole oil industry is very, very financial and result driven. And as you could see, after 2016, the result, the EBITDA result is fluctuating a bit. But even in 2020, during the COVID time, the result was very good. Okay, you can give a bigger target that deliver more, but if you're in a good shape, how you can be way of thinking, then it's very difficult to motivate the people to put the extra mile. So happened, the sense of urgency disappeared. But if I want to summarize the whole trip or the whole journey, so till 2016, we went up. But then there are three ways. One is we can call it holy grail, that we change the mindset, we change the behavior, and then there is a motivation in the organization to move further and to follow and continuously improving the situation. Or the other way is the opposite. The whole story changed or changing into the efficiency improvement program, the traditional efficiency improvement program. Opportunities are there, but we are falling back. And the third way is in between. We are running on like in the treadmill, up and down, up and down. So typically falling down, getting up, falling down, getting up. And if I see the whole company, which is a big one, so 25,000 people, it's a big elephant, very difficult to transform. But I have example, thanks God, all of the area. One is the Molucca Sea with 40 people, one side, I would say substantial EBITDA, substantial result. However, compared to the 3 billion euro or $3 billion, the 20 million is a tiny. But despite the fact they have quite a lot of clients, but they are on the right track. They follow the Holy Grail road. A much bigger, the MOL group maintenance. You remember that the maintenance was one of the biggest problem when I was the VP, and still the maintenance is or causing substantial problem. It's three sites, not anymore 100 million, rather 300 or 400 million euro size of business. 2 million working hours, it's growing up to 2.5 million working hours, and of course 60,000 or more work orders per year. So this is the size of the maintenance, and to transform that whole story, it's even a bigger challenge. And now I have to say that this is an ups and downs road, bumpy road. They are in this treadmill. The other quite big chunk is the petchem, which is part of the downstream, the polymer production, 1.2 million ton product, but it is sold in 20 kilos. So 100,000 sales transaction or transactions at all. So this is the size of the business. And of course, there are the others who was falling back, and then time to time starting any kind of a program which they want to do the lean transformation, but on their own, very rarely they could get up. And the main conclusion, we as a BACS, as Szabolcs mentioned at the beginning, in the first phase, I was sponsoring the whole transformation, and from 2016, we created the business excellence as a department, which was a nice story, but we was getting a doctor. We are able to diagnose the actual situation. We have a treatment methodology, but the recovery is exclusively depending on the client. It's on the business. And if the business leaders are not really committed to manage these changes, which I mentioned, which are the gaps which they have to overlap, then they will be sliding back to this efficiency improvement road, which is a steep downhill. So what are the conclusions? Lean is not a journey for loners. It's a team game. Success or failure is shared by all. So that is one of my biggest lessons. Situation implementation is inevitable. So you cannot expect an 8 points recipes and then you can manage the lean transformation. You have to see where you are in all areas and you have to see what is the gap, what you have to overbridge. And you need to change two things, way of thinking and way of doing the things. And this is not either or, but both and. As John Shu presented last year and the year before, this is a typical dilemma. Both sides you have to manage during the transformation. And the most important, never give up. Never give up, and you won't walk alone. You will never walk alone. So thank you very much. Time is up. Maybe you have 1-2 minutes for some of the questions.
Thank you very much, Bela. Could you please stop your sharing your screen, and I will read the question which we got from Tomasz. What are your ideas and plans for giving back to society? What have you learned besides MOL?
That's a very good question. And I can refer that in Hungary, we used to say no one can be a prophet in his home. So I try to share my knowledge and supporting other companies. I have the so-called part-time job teaching in the academy. So helping the others, supporting the others to learn that methodology, to be familiar with the lean philosophy, not to be part of the series of coincidences to be familiar with the lean, but rather helping them to understand the philosophy.
Okay, I also have a question for you, and we have only 2 minutes left. You started your presentation with a fairy. So if there would be a fairy who would be coming to you now and would kiss you in the forehead and put you back in 15 years, what would you done differently? Knowing all these ups and downs and all these things that you have learned, what would you do differently?
I think what I would do even earlier, gamba, go down and see what's going on. But secondly, be more patient because that's a big elephant. Slice them and then try to focus on a smaller cake, on a smaller area, but be very consistent. It's not something which can happen during a night. So very, very consistently coach, teach, and be there, help and support.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bela. Thank you for everyone joining us. I have seen the numbers growing, the participants' numbers, and people stayed throughout. So thank you very much for your attention, and have fun on during the other presentations too.
Thank you, guys. Wonderful presentation. Thank you,
very
Bela.
much.
Thank you, Csabot. Good to see you. Bye.